Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. I'm just putting my timer on here. Wait. Oh, screw it, it doesn't work. So thank you to Robert, and...
Let's brought the AT&T thing on.
Okay. Oh, I can't put anything on here? No. And to you, and to everybody with a Tableau who has put this together and discovered this wonderful hotel where if you go to the restrooms, you actually get cloth napkins, towels, which is a real luxury. I know nothing about Python. Obvious joke, except for Monty Python. And Pat, you said showing isn't explaining. The first thing I wrote down here, and yes, I have notes, is that I want to show you something, because I think that showing is what data visualization is. It has to explain something, of course, but I'm a graphic designer. I'm not a non-graphic designer. You know, I make things visual. So this is a story about 29. By itself, perhaps not a very inspiring number, but in a certain context, I think it is a pretty stunning number. First, a brief word about what I mean by context, which is very simple. You understand something, a fact, a number, data, when you see it next to something that you already know or understand. You see it when you see it in the context of something. So here's the world's biggest cheese. 34,591 pounds. Rather curiously exact number. I'm not quite sure how they came to that number, and I would have thought that all the rosettes, which I presume mean that it won prizes, would have added to that. So, you know, this picture might not be exactly right for people who are really precise. And there is a certain context here. These two lovely people are standing next to it. So you can see that it's big. But you don't really know how big it is. I mean, maybe if they were standing next to 5.5 Hummers, you'd know. And you'd certainly know if they were cheese Hummers. My favorite graphic like this is from about 1936, the old Queen Mary, that was given, it's in a coloring book, that was given away to the children of people who traveled across the Atlantic from the very built-up side with the Empire State Building and so on, to Europe on the other side. If you look closely, you can see actually St. Patrick's Cathedral is on the other side as well, and I can only assume that the artist who drew this saw the pointy bits of St. Patrick's Cathedral and thought, oh, that must be European, so I'll put it on that side. It's kind of a pity, it spoils it slightly for me, because I think St. Patrick's Cathedral would have looked pretty good on the other side. But it's taking the Queen Mary and taking it actually out of context and putting it into a different one and putting it up on end. And it must have been very exciting, I think, for children going in either direction, especially coming into New York, to imagine and to see the buildings in front of them as they came in on the ship, which was almost as tall as the biggest one that they could see. How about the moon? How big is the moon? The moon is something which was full, by the way, last night. The moon is this size, and it's this size as well. It's the same size as Australia, as America, but we never look at the US and Australia at the same time because they're on opposite sides of the globe, so you never quite have the chance to see them like this. So this is the kind of thing I mean by putting things into a context. I could tell you that this is a really big Ron Mueck sculpture. But you don't know how big it is until you see a museum guard sitting next to it. This is a really big sculpture. Ron Mueck, a great show at the Brooklyn Museum, was a special effects guy for movies and started to make art. So you get the idea. Putting things in context. Now, I had no idea that Jonathan was going to show his brilliant, well, it wasn't his work actually, but it wasn't your work, long jump piece that the New York Times did. And we know each other, we traveled on the plane together, we chatted last night, and never once did it come up what on earth we were going to talk about in our talks. But this is a different way of looking at something that he showed. At the Olympics in 1968, something really amazing happened. A guy called Bob Beamon, you've seen him, who was a pretty good long jumper, failed on his first 2 attempts and was just about to be eliminated. He ran, he took off after the little white board. So he adjusted his run just a little bit, his run up, just a little bit. And on the 3rd run, he jumped this amazing thing. It's nice, it animates it for me. I didn't realize it was going to do that. That is 29 feet, 2.5 inches. 29. Well, 29 feet, 2.5 inches. Almost 2 feet longer than the previous record. Now, Jesse Owens had jumped, fair jump actually before that, and it kind of crept up a little bit. There were extenuating circumstances. Mexico City is pretty high. It's never been proved that he was high. Actually, he's a very nice man, still alive, does good work. But 2 feet more was amazing, and his record stood for a long time. But 29 feet, how long actually is that? Well, I'm going to show you how long that is, and I'm going to show you how difficult it is to do the long jump. So, with the help of a couple of collaborators here, I'm going to measure out 29 feet in this room. And I thought I'd really worked this out well. You thought it looked a bit...
I thought it looked great. I thought you were just...
Exactly, So, I don't have much to say, so, it's okay that I'm taking up the time here. Maybe if I just go. Yeah, okay. Jonathan, since you stole my thunder,
sorry, Nigel.
take this end. Now, would you stand back?
Yes.
Okay. This is the length of the jump. And I'll show you. Now, bear with me a minute. I'm a little bit older than he was. I don't have the run-up that he had. I'm not fit, but I'm going to do the long jump. Okay. Oh, well. 6 feet. Okay, this guy did all of this in the air and landed here. In the air. Thanks. Just drop it, I think. This is amazing. And the reason I think maybe that you can see this is because it's in this room. It's in a different context. It is an unusual context. At the Olympics, you expect them at least to get into the sand pit, which, by the way, is about here. And you have to get to the Olympics, you have to be able to jump 20 feet just to get there. That is an amazing jump. Now, by the way, there he is. This picture is one of a very few that were taken because all the photographers were over at the other end of the stadium where Tommy Smith and John Carlos, the gold medal winner and the bronze medal winner in the 200 meters, were doing their Black Power salute, which went around the world. I mean, if there had been Twitter then, that would have blown it up. I always feel sorry for this guy who got the silver medal, Peter Norman, because in Australia there was a lot of racial tension at the same time. And there was a very touching story by Peter Norman's son, because his father died, this man died last year. A very nice story about this whole thing. Tommy Smith and John Carlos are both still alive. Now, Mike Powell beat the record by 2 inches 23 years after this event. And that record now has not been broken. And as you saw from Jonathan's piece this morning, the gold medal winner at the last Olympics was 27 feet, 2 feet shorter than this. It's amazing. Numbers are wonderful, and data are wonderful, and information is wonderful, but context is the key to understanding. Thank you.